two writers, one just starting out, the other a bestseller. Join James Blatch and Mark Dawson and their amazing guests as they discuss how you can make a living telling stories. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. It's a Friday, so it's Mark and James here with all the marketing inside information and top tips, more than top tips, in-depth instruction that you're going to need to make a success of your writing career. Welcome along. Hope you had a great week. Mark, I know it's a slight cliche, our conversations always start how busy we are. We're really busy, but you are colossally stressed a little bit at the moment, aren't you?
Yes, we're recording this on a Sunday, so we're coming to the office. I come to the office on a Sunday because Lucy and my mother-in-law are looking after the kids and the dog because we had to get this recording in, and it's all happening in the middle of the house move. So this morning was spent with me chasing the children around soft play for 2 hours whilst Lucy and the moving people started boxing us up for our move, which is tomorrow. So there's that. I also drove down to Runnymede-on-Thames yesterday for the inappropriately named 20 books to 50k London conference. It was nowhere near London.
It was in Runnymede.
It was in Runnymede, yeah. Famous.
Where the Magna Carta was signed.
Runnymede, yes. And it was very good. I was really impressed because we've kind of knocked around the idea of doing a conference before. And we kind of decided against it, at least for the moment, because we thought it'd be too much work and too complicated. But Craig Martell, who runs these conferences for that group, has organised a really good conference from the other side of the world. So basically putting us to shame. And yeah, they asked me to speak. So I went down there and spoke about my reintroduction to KU and the excellent start I had in January. And I posted about that fairly extensively in the SPF community. And I enjoyed that. And then I had dinner with Craig, Michael Anderley and Joe Penn. So we had a really good chat actually about some things that they're doing that I thought were interesting, and I told them some things that I was doing that I think they thought were quite interesting. It was generally very good. It was greeted with whoops when I started speaking, which was extremely strange. I don't get that in SPF staff meetings. I think I might insist that we
do make noises.
Yeah, we do make noises.
But you're a rock star now.
Almost. I had people taking selfies with me. Several people complimenting me on my beard. And also for the YouTube commenter who told me to stop playing with my beard. I am trying very, very hard not to stroke my beard this week.
Stroking was the word used.
No
Stop stroking your beard.
I had some romance authors saying how they thought my beard was very fetching. So I've told Lucy about that, and she's furious. Not really. And then I was presented with a pen, which I have here, by the apparently the audience do a whip round for the speakers, and they gave me a very nice wooden pen.
That's very nice.
Extremely kind. And yeah, it was a great conference. Really, if I know lots of SPF members were there because they told me, and saw Tommy Donbavand. Hugged it out with Tommy, which is great. He's done really well. So of course, if you haven't donated yet, have we donated yet, James?
We have donated. Yeah. We donated straight away. I didn't ask anyone. I just donated.
Yeah. So Tommy is it's selfpublishingformula.com/Tommy if you want to give a bit of money to help Tommy with his round 2 of his fight against cancer. And it was generally fun, full of energy, full of enthusiasm, loads of people wanting to learn more about how to self-publish. So yeah, generally a great event. And I am now eyeing up the conference in Vegas. They're looking at Craig was suggesting there could be 1,000 people there, which is the biggest self-publishing conference by far. And they've also invited me to keynote their one in Bali in January, which I have to say I am quite tempted by. So we'll see.
Strangely. I wonder why. What is it about Bali? There's a village near Royston in Cambridge called Bali.
Isn't it really?
People say I'm going off for a cricket tour to Bali.
There's a village near me called Freezy Water.
It's a bit more
just from Jack's Bush. Anyway, Sandy Balls.
Sandy Balls, that's not that far away. There is a village here called Cold Christmas, which is
very nice.
If you put these names into a book, in America, they just think you're making stuff up, but they're actual village names.
We do have villages called those names, absolutely.
Yeah. Good. Well, that sounds really exciting. I mean, 1,000 people at a self-publishing conference. We're getting there. All the conferences get bigger and bigger every year. We're already talking to Julia at NINC about this year's, or Julie, I should say, this year's conference. And I know they've got big plans at changing things a little bit. Thriller Fest, which crosses over a lot into trad and also I notice into readers. So I think fans of thrillers go to Thriller Fest to hear their authors talking, and that's a fairly big chunk of it. So it's slightly different.
That's not self-publishing. So me speaking there is a bit unusual. So I'm going to blow their minds with what we can do with our marketing. Also, that's also true for RWA, which I'm also going to the week after Thriller Fest. Slightly more traditionally biased, although certainly changing. So 20 books is purely...
Listen, I know we've explored this before, and we looked at the whole conference thing, and it is, it's a serious decision for us. But you imagine us, an afternoon with Stuart Bache doing cover design sessions. You could do a whole bunch of stuff. Even I could teach people some things about self-publishing, believe it or not. So it's definitely, we've got pretty much all the contacts we need in the self-publishing world to put together a great conference. Maybe it's something we think about for next year. It would be a fun thing to do. Okay, look, I just mentioned Stuart because we launched the cover design course where we're standing now not that long ago, about a week ago, and it's got from where this broadcast is going out, it's going to be open forever. Okay, so this is unusual for us. It's what's called evergreen in the online courses world. So we're not going to close it and open it and close it and open it. It's a small course. Onboarding people is a little bit different, and the support group's working well. The feedback we've had straight away has been tremendous. Stuart's doing a really good job. We've had a tremendous response to it as well. A lot of you obviously were chomping at the bit to get in, and that's been very, very pleasing because I have to say lots of work went into getting it there, and Stuart's quite nervous about it all as well. But he's done a really terrific job on that. Just on a technical point, we have an introductory price offer, which you may have noticed if you've had a look at this. So it's currently at $197. It's a $297 course, US dollars, with its pricing. It's currently at $197. So, and the idea behind that is lots of our students have bought other courses, and ultimately down the line, there will probably be a discount if you buy Ads for Authors to buy this as well, because otherwise it does start to get expensive. But it won't be $100, the discount in the future. So that's what's on offer for everybody at the moment, $100 off. We're going to let that run for one more week. So the $100 discount period will end on the 16th of February. So we'll say at the end of the 16th of February. Then it will go to $297. And like I say, we will discount it probably if you buy another course, but it won't be a $100 discount on it in the future. And just one more incentive, if you're thinking about buying, is that Stuart has put forward, in fact, we were going to do this last week, but we didn't, so we're going to do it now, which is to say that one person who's bought in this opening introductory period up until the 16th and including the 16th of February will be drawn out of the hat, and they will win a bespoke cover from the master himself, from Stuart. So that's really something to have. So all you have to do to enter that is simply enroll in the course, and you'll be in the hat for that. And he does some good covers, as you can probably tell if you're watching on YouTube and looking behind. If you can look past the beard for a moment, there are some good covers. It's an absorbing course. I don't know how much of it you've got a chance to sit and watch, Mark, but it's actually, everyone who's worked on this course, I've had editors working on it, and they've all said to me it's actually compelling when he starts talking about what a romance cover is and what it's doing in terms of its job of selling a book.
One thing we're going to do actually, which I've spoken to Stuart about this, and we always intended it, was at the moment there are 3 or 4 genres that he goes through and gives kind of ground from the ground up. So starting with a blank sheet of virtual paper and building a cover. So things like thrillers, romances, sci-fi, that's all included. But so not everything is in there. You don't need it all to be there to learn about your genre, but we are going to be adding new genres as we go through. That's always been the plan. So this will be in the kind of tried and tested SPF fashion. Everything, I think this course will not stand still. It will grow, will increase the depth and the range of coverage. And everyone who has signed up now will get all of those bonuses that we add complimentary. So there's no, you don't need to buy anything again. So if there's a genre that you're interested in, it could be nonfiction. We haven't done nonfiction yet, but I think that's a good one. I think young adult is on the list. Basically, just drop have a look in the community, the Facebook community. Just drop in the genre that you'd be interested in. maybe we'll run a poll just to see which ones we can prioritize, and we'll get Stuart, because frankly he's a bit lazy, and he needs to get back to work. So we'll set him working again. If he's listening, you're not really that lazy, Stuart. No, it's quite lazy. Not very.
He's not at all. Yes, I mean, and that's the other thing to say about the course is that once enrolled in the course, you get access to the course-only Facebook group. And as with all our courses, the paid courses, the Facebook group, in many people's eyes, is equal to the value of the course itself, because it's a live, dynamic thing. Stuart's in there a lot, but what's going to happen is that one or two people are going to become experts in areas like Photoshop, and they'll be the go-to gurus for you in that group of how to do specific author-related book cover stuff. So it's great to see the group burgeoning. And despite the fact we had some beta testers, you're quite right. Once 100 plus people have joined the course, suddenly people are saying, "Oh, well, what about horror covers?"
Horror,
and
yeah.
so on. Horror was one, and I think there is a crossover with one or two of the genres there, and I think Stuart's already said he's pointed those out to people, saying there's broken glass and how to use blood effects and so on. But specifically, horror would be a good one to add at some point.
I've seen some horrific covers.
Yeah, well, there's a whole section on what not to do, which is. We're just kind of hoping that the people who produce those covers don't then sign up to the course, although there is an apology at the beginning from Stuart if one of these covers is yours.
Yeah, I saw when Stuart, and that is slightly tangential, but I saw a Twitter response when Stuart posted that the course was open from a designer saying, the hashtag was "bite the hand that feeds you." It's like, oh no, come on. Yeah. My response that I couldn't resist it was, first of all, to send a picture of the little Dutch boy with his finger in the wall.
Yes.
And because I couldn't find King Canute, and the other one, good designers don't need to worry about it. So yeah, there you go. I think Stuart's quite brave to put this together, but it is. We're really pleased with the responses. We've had quite a lot of people sign up for it, and lots more interest. So it's a really good price. I mean, let's be honest, $197 is fantastic value for someone of Stuart's caliber to put this course together. So if people are interested in that, they should definitely get on before the 16th when the price goes up.
Yeah. Okay, good. Look, we're going to talk Kobo now. And it is odd to think, isn't it, that if you're in Canada, the biggest retailer of ebooks is not Amazon or Apple, it's Kobo. And it's a household name in that area of the world. But outside of it, it's known, but not as well known. And it's important that you know about it, really important that you understand that there's a platform there and you're leaving some money on the table if you don't understand it. And in particular, they've done a lot of work on the type of promotion you can get within Kobo and the advertising platform that goes along with it. You're right.
Yeah.
So it's time for us to revisit Kobo. Now, normally we get a very neatly trimmed, bearded man who's quite buff comes on. No.
I'm on every week.
Very neitly trimmed beard who's quite buff.
Oh, I see what you've done there.
Mark, whose surname I can never pronounce without saying... No, it is. Mark's left.
Lefebvre, that's right, yes. Yeah.
Mark has left Kobo, but he's left his role in the very capable hands of Chrissy Munroe. She's excellent, and she does a really great job for Kobo in this interview. So let's hear from Chrissy, and then Mark and I will be back after the interview. Chrissy, hello from Kobo. Welcome along to the SPF podcast. It's great to have you here, and I'm not saying that we don't miss Mark, but we had Mark on before. We meet him around at conferences. He was a bit of a larger-than-life character for Kobo, but he's moved on, and you're filling his boots.
That's right. Hey, James, thanks for having me. And I've been with KWL for 5 years now, working extremely closely with Mark. Our desks were adjoined, so he taught me a ton, and I've been on the road with him a lot. So it was a pretty seamless transition, at least from my perspective, to kind of take over the reins and take on this awesome opportunity. So I miss him too, but he's not very far away. He's approximately an hour away, and I hear from him all the time. So he will always be a part of KWL blood. But I'm excited to take it to the next level.
Gone but not forgotten.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start at the beginning. You better explain what Kobo Writing Life is and how it fits into Kobo. And let's start with what Kobo is, because, for some people, there's Amazon and then there's a few others, and Kobo's one of the very prominent other ones. So let's start with that, shall we?
Yeah, great place to start. So Kobo launched about 11 years ago now. We were actually part of Chapters Indigo, Canada's biggest bookstore chain originally, and then launched off onto our own as a very specific, dedicated ebook provider. So that's our DNA as a starting ground, and it's really shaped what the company is today. So because we focused on ebooks and not other formats and not other products, that allowed us to expand by partnering with other retail partners around the world, much in the same way as we started with Chapters. So for a ton of really big bookstore chains around the world, Kobo is the ebook provider. So that allowed us to get a foothold into markets really quickly and establish ourselves around the world as a dominant ebook provider. So if you're based in North America, for example, you may not be as familiar with the brand, but globally, Kobo is a market share leader in a lot of territories, and that's what we're really known for and continue to excel at. Fast forwarding to present day Kobo, if you'll let me, we are now owned by Rakuten, which is a giant Japanese company, really giving Amazon a run for their money on a global scale. They own a ton, hundreds of other companies, including Kobo. And that's really allowed us to grow even faster. And Kobo is still Toronto-based. I'm in our headquarters right now, but maintain that global focus with the giant support of a really big tech company in Japan now. So that's kind of the background on Kobo. And then Kobo Writing Life specifically, we are Kobo's free self-publishing platform, born in 2012, so a little bit later than Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but that gave us the advantage to build our platform to excel and improve on what they were offering, and that's what we still try to do today. And so we make it as fast and easy as possible for authors and small publishers to get their ebooks into Kobo's global catalog.
Yeah. And you didn't mention the two things that Mark always mentions is your Canadian company and Kobo is an anagram of book.
Yep, that is important trivia.
It starts with those two. Okay, there's several things that pop up from there. One sort of slightly left field question is that you've got good links with bookstores and chains. Mm-hmm. And so for their online presence, I guess that's how you are their main retailer or wholesaler, I guess, to them of ebooks. Is there anywhere where you walk into a physical bricks and mortar bookstore and can buy ebooks? Is that something you do with them? Is anyone thinking about this?
Yeah, so that's something we've worked on in various degrees of success over the years. So for example, in the US, we partner with the American Booksellers Association, and that is all independent bookstores throughout the US who decide to be a member of the ABA, which is most of them. So it's kind of up to the store to decide how they want to do that. For the stores that have really engaged readers who want to shop online, they really cater to that. So I've seen stores with displays with QR codes for ebooks, and using ebooks to help get indies in the door, so that if there's a local independent author, they can host a reading, for example, and then give out cards with download codes to get the book online. So I've seen it work in that way. I haven't seen it work in a really big way. The other way we partner with stores, and something I didn't mention before, is that Kobo has a line of devices, and really awesome devices. So a lot of stores sell those devices online, and then Kobo would take over the experience going forward, but the bookstore would get a portion of those sales. So you're always the bookstore's customer, but we provide the ebook merchandising and all of that going forward.
You deliver it, yeah. I just think that there needs to be a closer integration. There are still some people who look at ebooks, and we actually had this the other day on a webinar. Someone said, but that's not really a book, is it? I'm thinking, it's all I ever read. The books I only read now are on my devices. So, and there needs to be a closer integration. Everyone loves a bookshop, right? But I do read almost exclusively ebooks now. Occasionally, obviously, if it's got a lot of pictures in it, I'll buy it. But the idea of seeing, okay, the bookstore's got limited shelf space. It might have 5,000 titles. I don't know how big the bookstore is, but the idea that you can actually have access to 100,000 titles through a catalogue or something there, and walk out with that on your device, just seems to me like a fairly obvious thing that should be there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there's also the idea of, people like indie authors wanting to get into bookstores, but not having an easy way to do that without a traditional publishing deal, which is still the case today, despite all of the leaps and bounds that have happened in this whole indie revolution. So I feel like there is still more opportunity there to happen. We've partnered, for example, in Italy with Mondadori, who is both a publisher and a giant bookstore chain, to do Kobo Writing Life writing competitions, where the prize is to get a big in-store event with Mondadori doing a small print run of the self-published title, and then you get an in-store presentation. So we're starting to do a lot more of that and look at how can we scale that to more users. Yeah.
I guess one of the issues might be thinking it through that a lot of the big publishers will price their physical book at sort of $10.99 and their ebook at $8.99. When you're standing in a bookshop, you're going to think, do you know what? For $2, I'll have a nice big physical product. But that's kind of their problem at the moment in trying to keep their old industry going in the same way it is. But that will change over time, of course. And of course, the indie authors would have a massive advantage in that environment because their books would be $3.99.
Exactly. So I think that there still is that fear amongst booksellers, right? That you're going to lose sales to these lower priced books, and books that they will potentially never have a piece of if you don't ever do a physical run or want to have physical books taking up shelf space in the store. So there are still some gaps, and I think kinks to be worked out within all of those relationships going forward. But one cool example that Fire and Fury book that took the world by storm. Throughout the US and Australia, for example, there were all kinds of delays getting physical copies into stores. So a lot of our partners looked to us because the book was there, ready to go at 9 a.m. on launch day, even though launch day was 4 days earlier. With the click of a button, we changed the publication date on our site. So we are seeing opportunities like that where customers think like, oh, I want to read this book everybody's talking about over the weekend and I cannot physically get it in my hands. I have to look at the ebook if I want to read it right now.
So suddenly the traditional industry's quite interested in the ebook because they can deliver it, and you may miss that opportunity. That was someone pointed out. In fact, Stuart Bache, our cover design expert, pointed out that it's a worldwide phenomenon. That book, it's hotly anticipated, and it has a cover that looks like someone did it in 5 minutes before they released it. It's got a pretty poor cover on it.
We had a really hot internal debate about that one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, all of the merchandisers got into it. The takeaway seemed to be that the cover delivers what you expect that kind of book to be.
Okay.
Not necessarily what might be aesthetically pleasing or artistically really creative, but when you see it, you know exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So for whatever that's worth, that was the overall consensus here.
And that's what a cover should do after all. So, okay.
Right?
So another thing that strikes me is that this is still early days. I had this conversation with the self-publishing podcast guys a couple of months ago. This is still early days in ebooks. And, Kobo, you're right, in North America, the profile's not as high perhaps as it is here. But and everyone knows Amazon. But do you know what? There was a point where everybody bought Ford cars because Ford were the only people doing cars. They mass-produced cars, and if you wanted to buy a car, you bought a Ford. Whereas now, Ford are a player, but no one would point at them and say they're the dominant global player. There's big competition all around them. 50 years' time, right. Who knows whether it's Amazon, Kobo, or names we haven't heard of yet. But it's still a pioneering phase, right?
I completely agree, and still a growth phase. I think individual authors, some louder than others, will comment about, where things stand based on when they adapted or how many books they publish a year or any of that. But from a KWL perspective, our author base is growing in huge numbers every single year still, 5 years in. Our sales are growing in huge numbers every single year. So, and the revenue opportunities are changing. One thing I wanted to mention, from a pitch perspective is we now offer uploading to Overdrive, really in a free and easy way. They're our sister company. Rakuten bought them as well.
Okay.
So if you click upload to libraries in KWL, you get the same terms that you would if you had a direct overdrive relationship. So I think there will be a lot more of that happening as companies change and opportunities and formats change.
Yeah.
And then looking at like audiobooks, I think audiobooks is still in its infancy in a lot of ways as people love podcasts like this and want even more rich content. And as podcasts look at new ways to monetize, right? I think that will be a really cool opportunity. So that's a really big initiative on our roadmap right now. Kobo rolled out audiobooks as our new format last year. KWL needs to build out a way for authors to get their audiobooks into the catalog. So that is on our roadmap for this year. Exciting things coming.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's talk about KWL a bit then. So Kobo Writing Life, as you say, I mean, I suppose I have to put the analogy again for people less familiar with the platform, that it's effectively the equivalent of Kindle Direct Publishing. Is that right? It's the place where self-publishing authors will go to create their books, upload them, create their page. But as you say, you came a little bit afterwards. You looked around saw what other people were doing. So you've created a very smooth, very easy, nice platform to use. We use it for all our SPF books. What would you say then are the advantages for somebody if they're looking around at the moment and thinking about what platforms to use?
Sure, that's a great question. So you could get into a lot of different debates on this one, right? Like aggregator versus direct versus KU and wide. So there's a lot of almost political at this point debates happening, right? But from a strictly KWL perspective, I would say advantages. Number one, it is fast and easy. We make it as fast and easy as possible. So truly, if you can type in the title of your book and your name, you have a cover, we take even Word docs. You don't have to have an EPUB. We'll convert it for you for free. Within hours, your book is live in the Kobo store. We also have a promos tool, which is really unique. No other retailer offers anything like it, where authors can merchandise their own titles within the Kobo store. You submit your title, and we create opportunities like banner support, emails to our customers. It's really affordable. So compared to a marketing tool like BookBub, for example, it's quite cheap, either a flat fee of like $10 or an extra 10% COGS, we call it. So your royalty, instead of 30%, you take that little hit for the time that you're in the promo, but going forward, it gives you a sustained lift of sales. So opportunities like that, the overdrive that I already mentioned, audio coming soon. I feel like we are always really fighting to make it as easy and fast as possible for authors to get to Kobo readers. We have a reputation also for really dedicated author care. Our team is all in-house. We don't have like some giant call center somewhere. It's actual people working right across from me. So there's a lot of internal, escalations that happen. For example, if you have any kind of issue, we all work together. I think that is something that Kobo has always been really proud of, and that Mark really helped initiate from the beginning, is we put authors first. So we don't have any of those issues of like, Amazon's doing a lot of rank stripping right now, for example. That would never be something that we would work towards or even consider doing at Kobo, because it's just not within our interests. We want to help authors sell more books. Bottom line. Another advantage of coming direct to Kobo is that we have a link share affiliate program through Rakuten. It's a really competitive program from a linking perspective. So you sign up. I can send you the link for that. It's like a bunch of letters. It's not easy to say it out loud, but you get 6% of sales that go through these affiliate links for any ebooks, and 10% of device sales. So that's pretty unique from a linking perspective, and great for people who are doing a lot of online marketing, which most people are doing these days.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of the things Amazon deal with that maybe do things differently, but partly that's a product of their size, and they are facing challenges at the moment over at Kindle. They've got, they have to, I guess they end up using a bit of a blunt hammer a blunt tool to deal with things like people copywriting or getting click farms to go through Kindle Unlimited. You must be facing some of that, because there is an opportunity. Wherever there's money being made, there's people looking for shortcuts, isn't there?
It's very true. Yeah, anyone doing online retail of any kind is going to face some fraud, and whatever scheming opportunities. But actually, so in early days, we had what we belovedly call Erotica Gate, where an online or a newspaper flagged us for having inappropriate content for sale on our store. That was actually right after I joined KWL, so it was a great intro to the team and to the catalog to go through like the real trenches.
Wow.
But that lesson really shaped us from pretty early in our days. So we built a big data system that scans all of our titles internally for similarity analysis. So if there's any copyright happening of whatever is already published on the Kobo store. And flagging for word combinations of illicit content that we do not want to sell. So we get all of those flagged in our feeds every single day, and then actual people go through and all of the flagged content. We also have a tiered system on our side of like green authors who we totally trust, and they're allowed to upload whatever they want, even faster than most others. And then yellow is like all users. We have suspected users that kind of try to break the rules, and we know who they are and we know how to find them. So it really shaped the way that we do our business and run the publisher operations side. So I think despite that early hiccup and the pain that it caused us, I'm actually kind of grateful we had that experience early on, because it's helped us down the line.
Yeah, I can see how that prompted you into some systems that are going to benefit you in the future. And we should say you're not Kobo's not anti-erotica books, but you had a problem with material that went beyond whatever the line is.
Yeah, exactly. And we make that line quite clear. You never want to, hit questions of, what's the word I'm looking for? Censorship.
Yeah.
But we are a store for sale, with partners we're responsible for. And at the end of the day, we get to decide what we sell. So anything that would be illegal or harmful, violent, exceptionally violent, rape, incest, that kind of stuff, we do not allow.
Well, you're talking to somebody who used to be a film examiner and give certificates to films. So so for 7 years, that was my world, making that decision and where that line is. And there's a difference.
Hard.
It is hard, but there's a difference between censorship and classification, if you like, of basically saying in this environment, this is appropriate. There are other places on the net, no doubt, you can go to that don't have that regulatory surround, but nobody, I don't think, would object to anybody having a sensible line. And legality is always a good one, isn't it? If it's illegal in the real world.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we'll leave Erotica Gate there for the moment. So
in the past, where it belongs. Thank you.
A learning experience for everybody.
Yeah, but one thing I should have mentioned when you asked why publish direct to KWL is also just authors wanting to reach a global audience. Kobo is in countries and dominant in countries where other retailers are not. So if you want to be reaching as many fans as you possibly can, you want to be uploading your books to as many retailers as possible, and you want to get as much bang for your buck at those retailers as you can. And so that's the question of aggregator, right? With an aggregator, you're going to lose 15% of your sales. So you have to decide what you're sacrificing for that 15%. If it's time and convenience, we try to mitigate those factors by making it fast and easy, as I said.
Okay. So what are the royalties? What's the scale you offer?
Yeah, so great question. We offer 70% for titles priced $2.99 and higher. We do not have a cap on that. So a lot of authors, especially with big series, have put out these giant box sets where you can get the entire series for, let's say, $30, and you will still get 70% for that sale. We see it as you make more money, we make more money, so we're not going to penalize you for pricing a larger title for what it should be worth. And then for titles priced $2.99 and below, it's 45%. Public domain, it's 20%. You can price free anytime with no strings attached.
So 45% down to whatever, however low, like 99 cents.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a pretty good edge you've got there.
Yeah.
And in terms of exclusivity, do you offer exclusivity as a different deal?
We do not.
You do not?
No,
Okay.
we don't have any kind of requests or demands for exclusivity ever. I mean, some authors choose to upload those box sets only to retailers that don't have a cap because it makes more financial sense. But that's completely the impetus of the author. That's not something that we ask for.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's not really strong reasons not to use Kobo from an author's point of view. I guess going into KU is the big one if they've signed an exclusive agreement with them. But outside of that, why would you not?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
No, truly, I think it behooves each author to at least try. You know, it's free and fast to sign up for an account, so check it out. It's kobo.com/writinglife to set up an account, see what it looks like, see if it's easy and fast as I'm promising you here, and make the decision after that. As a self-published author, you are taking on that role of business person, right? So you have to do your market research and see what's out there.
Yeah, but I can definitely tell it's easy and fast because actually for the 101 course, we do screen flows on the setup process for all the various platforms. And I mean, obviously there's a tax interview, which you can't avoid, but I seem to remember even the tax interview was as painless as it possibly could be. I think it's the Amazon one is the really painful one. Apple's not a great one either, but anyway, there you go. You can't avoid a tax interview every now and again in life. So, okay, let's talk.
Unfortunately,
yeah, let's talk about the devices then. So this does set you apart a little bit. So you've got a waterproof device at the top of your range, which I think, if I remember rightly, you're going to gift one to one of our listeners. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Aura H2O is waterproof. It was the first waterproof device, I believe. It can go up to 3 meters underwater. So that's perfect for bathtub or poolside readers. And I myself have dunked it just as a test at conferences across the world, and it's still kicking along. So it's an awesome device. And then the newest, highest level one is called the Aura 1. And that is actually a device we brought in our highest whale readers, if you will, our biggest shoppers, and they actually helped us to create this premier device that has the biggest screen size. And then the biggest thing we did with that one is took away the blue light for bedtime readers, so it's more orange, and it helps you fall asleep faster, but it might reduce your reading time.
Yeah, that sounds like.
But yeah, we're always innovating those devices, and it's something that I really love to use myself.
Yeah, and when did you start with the devices? Was that right at the beginning?
Yeah, it was. Yep. It's always been part of our business, and trying to make them as competitive as possible. When we usually, even though our market share is considerably smaller than Amazon in the US, they always, when Amazon launches a new device, they compare it to ours as the benchmark, which I think says a lot about the quality.
Yeah, excellent. So what's for the future then for Kobo? What are the secrets you're holding in the for 2018?
In this vault of mine.
Yeah.
So one is absolutely audiobooks. I know a lot of authors have deals with ACX, for example, and some of those, the 7-year term is coming up, so that's something to keep in mind. And some authors have created their own files, so we're going to make it super easy to upload your audio file right in the KWL dashboard and get it out to Kobo audio customers. So I'm really, really excited about that. I think that'll be exciting, and it's due time. I feel like those guys have had a corner on the audio market for indie authors for too long, so we need to shake that up. And then the second thing we're looking at is how we can make KWL like the place where authors can come to experiment and get data that other retailers won't share. So the main one we're looking at putting into the dashboard is reading data. whenever a Kobo user syncs their device or their app, it feeds the reading data back to us, right? So we can see, and this is the advantage of digital versus a paper book, right? You sell a paper book and the book is sold. You never know what happens to it afterwards. If anyone reads it, goes straight to trash can, who knows? With an ebook, we know how many people opened it, how many people finished it, how long it took them to finish it. So we have all of that information. So we're looking at summarizing it and putting those stats right in the dashboard, and hopefully in ways that authors can actually use to improve their business. So for example, if you compare 5 books in a series, if the open rates are different or completion rates are different, you could look at potentially re-editing a book and re-releasing it. If your sales are low, but your completion rates are high, you could be dealing with a packaging problem and, look at a cover redesign, because obviously the book is good, but you're not selling it well enough. So providing that kind of information to help authors do better business. So that's a really exciting initiative for me too. And that's something we offered to Mark Dawson on an ad hoc basis, because he is, such a great innovator and experimenter. So he responded really well to it and gave us some really good feedback for rolling it out in a bigger way this year.
Yeah, I mean, that is fascinating to be able to, and we have online courses and we do see that information. We see which sessions people stop at, don't finish the end of, and so on. So that gives us an idea of going back to them. And what a great thing for your books. And I'm thinking from your perspective as well. Obviously, as an author, you're going to get your reading data on your books, but sitting at your level, you can see over hundreds of thousands of books, which books get read, which books don't get read. You can start unlocking the secret formula there, Chrissy.
Yeah, so we do look at that information and it helps us feed merchandising decisions. So, in old school publishing, you just look at the P&L of sales. We can compare sales and completion rates. So we have this 2-tiered evaluation level, which is pretty incredible. And when we look at other projects, like for example, we're looking at offering translation deals to authors in countries where we're growing and we have really strong partners. And we're doing like a share, for example, of translation costs and marketing. We can look at how well are these authors selling and who is completing them, and consider both things. So it is really exciting stuff.
I mean, that's a really great idea, because translation is one of those areas that a lot of authors sort of know they should be doing something about, but don't know quite where to start, or just can't find the time in their lives to allocate to. If you come to somebody and say, let's do this together, I can imagine that being a real door-opening exercise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are the main things I'm excited about. And then Overdrive, we launched it kind of at the end of last year in a bigger way, and then we're rolling it out right now as of this date in January. It's still a manual opt-in where an author says, I want to upload to Overdrive. We click a button on our side, and then you get that ability shown in your dashboard. But as of early next month, we'll just roll it out to all users to have automatically. So that's going to be a big area of growth from my perspective. And I think an exciting one, it's really hard to get an Overdrive account and to manage yet one more thing. So trying to make reaching library users a lot easier is really exciting for us.
Yeah. And you say that's down to the Rakuten link, because they own both, so you can start to integrate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, look, before we go, I just want to talk a little bit about the marketing offer that you've got at the moment. This opt-in for promotion. Can you just flesh that out a little bit more? So, because this obviously is key to the way authors think. Certainly the ones who listen to this podcast think about how they're going to be marketing their titles. People are familiar with BookBar. People are familiar with occasionally getting this rare invite from Kindle to take part in a promo, but you've got something that sits there that you can opt into.
Yeah, so if you are an author listening and you don't have this tool yet, but you have a KWL account, you can email us to get it. It's writinglife@kobo.com. So it is currently still in beta mode, much to my chagrin, but we do intend to roll it out wider later this year. So basically, it's an extra tab right in your dashboard called Promotions, and we list all of the available promos happening on site that we, as KWL, we are kind of treated as an internal publisher, can submit our titles for. So in turn, we open that up to authors to submit your own titles for consideration. So in a similar way to BookBub, your chances of being chosen every time are different because different authors submit different titles. And then we select based on the availability of spots on site. So typically we do the royalty increase that I mentioned before. So it's an additional 10% royalties that we keep because we're trying to promote you. You sell more, we sell more, that kind of thing. And then it goes back to your regular royalties once the promotion ends. And it'll be things like being featured as the daily deal on Kobo or being featured on our free page, which is the most common search term on Kobo is free. So all of those customers get automatically bumped to a page where we feature mostly first in series because we want to drive sales, obviously. So you could submit your title to be the spotlight on that page, for example. We have monthly 40% off sales that we pitch in emails to our customers, and they're usually genre-based, so thrillers or romance. All kinds of things. There's always a ton happening on that promo tab. The only rule from an author perspective to keep in mind is that you can only submit the same title to one promotion at a time. So we're not going to, pump the same title in 15 different places on the website. You kind of have to pick what you think is the best opportunity. And we really recommend just submitting as often as you'd like. You can submit a couple books to different things at the same exact time. And most of our established authors, they just check that page every day, every week, and continually submit. And that's how you really get traction going on Kobo. So highly recommend using that. If you don't have it yet, email us. We will happily give it to you and get you going.
And there's no editorial filtering that you do?
There is, on our side. So let's say we get 200 submissions. We choose, let's say, 20 to 50, depending on what the opportunity is on our side. And then you're notified if your title was selected or not. And if you're not selected, we actually give you a reason why. So it's, if the cover wasn't right, if the genre wasn't right, or, please try again next time. But the message is always try again, keep trying. We always want to consider your title.
Okay, so there is some filtering, but I get the feeling a lot higher chance than getting a BookBub.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or getting that email from Kindle, which comes once in a blue moon saying, would you like to take part in that promotion? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Chrissy, it's been a delight talking to you, and good to hear. I mean, we're fans of Kobo. We obviously bumped into Mark quite a few times. Are you going to be around on the circuit a bit in places like Thriller Fest or RWA?
Yeah, so this year it's looking like I will go to Smarter Artists in February. The new Sell More Books conference is happening in Chicago this year. I'll be at RWA and NINC. Those are the main ones I will be at this year.
Okay.
How about you?
Well, I haven't ruled out Smarter Artists yet, but it's going to be difficult to fit that one in. We will be at Thriller Fest. Mark will be at RWA. I and Mark will be at NINC. So it looks like NINC will be the place where you can buy me. I mean, I can buy you a beer. All
right. I'll look forward to that. I never say no to a beer.
Yeah. I think Mark used to buy them, but, that's fine.
Which Mark?
Yeah, which Mark? Yeah. It wasn't Mark Dawson, I can tell you that. Okay, brilliant. Chrissy, thank you so much. It's been a real delight talking to you. We wish you luck with Kobo. And who knows, like I say, in 50 years' time, you could be, Kobo, the giant everyone has to compete with.
Right. Well, that's our dream, and that's what we're working towards. Absolutely. So hopefully listeners got some extra information they didn't know before. And I truly encourage everybody listening to just stay in touch with us. We never, don't want to hear from you. So writinglife@kobo.com is the email they need to know. We also, in case you want to know, we have a free blog and podcast ourselves, the Kobo Writing Life podcast, where we share tons of free information specific to Kobo. All of our top-selling authors, what's working well, marketing tips, all that good stuff.
And an opportunity to win the H2O which you can also you could replicate what Chrissy does and hold it in a bucket just to show everyone or whatever it is you do at conferences. You should do that at Nick. So we'll set up a landing page, selfpublishingformula.com/Kobo, Kobo, and if people want to go there and enter that competition, we'll ping you the email address of the person who gets randomly drawn, and you can send them their brand spanking new H2O reader.
Awesome.
You could even sign it, Chrissy.
If they want, I will sign it.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much, Chrissy. We will see you, no doubt, in the States at some point. And until then, we'll keep in touch and keep a watching brief on Kobo.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, James. It was great to see you and meet you online. And thanks for the opportunity.
You're a man to talk to at the moment about going wide or not going wide, because you're experimenting, and as you alluded to in the opening patch, to a pretty successful start by going narrow. Is that the expression?
Going exclusive, yeah. So
exclusive.
I've prefaced all this with I've been wide for a long time, and I'm very fond of Kobo, very fond of Apple. Don't really care about Barnes & Noble. But those guys have been really good to me. So it was a very, very difficult decision to go exclusive to Amazon. I'm very fond of Amazon too. And I did. And when people ask me about that, and I spoke about this extensively at the conference yesterday, I always say this is something for individual authors to think about. You have to consider this. And I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. When I recorded the 101 session on kind of initial strategy about going wide or being exclusive, I re-recorded that session about 6 times, because and the kind of the takeaway from that in the end was there was no right answer. I can't advise on what you should do, because I don't think there is an answer to that. So, you know, in terms of going wide, if you are not inclined to be exclusive to Amazon, which is absolutely legitimate, I was wide, as I say, for a good couple of years. Kobo should be a fundamental part of your strategy for that. They are really professional. Mark was great. Chrissy is great. I haven't met Chrissy yet, but I will meet her at some of the conferences I'm going to later this year. And they are, you know, they're big in Canada, as you say, but they're not just big in Canada. I don't know if Chrissy alluded to this, but they're big. They're bigger than Amazon in lots of significant markets where Amazon don't have a presence. And they recently announced a week or two ago that they've just hooked up with Walmart in the US, and there'll be a co-branded or co-owned website between Kobo, and they're owned by a company called Rakuten, a very big Japanese multinational, really enormous, in fact, and Walmart. So, you know, for the those of us in the UK, I don't think we really realize how big Walmart is, but it's kind of like super.
Yes.
So that suddenly has become a very interesting player in the market. And also at the same time that Apple have announced some changes to their platform, Barnes & Noble appear to be taking it a bit more seriously again. So suddenly there's more competition for Amazon. Now, that is a great thing, because I don't want, although I love Amazon, and Amazon, let's be honest, they have completely changed my life. And last month was remarkable in terms of how successful it was. I don't really want Amazon to be the only player in town, because once that happens, then Amazon doesn't have to potentially look at 70% royalties anymore. So there's loads of reasons why it's helpful to have a vibrant marketplace with lots of different options. And I see Kobo continuing to take a place as a really viable alternative to Amazon and the others. So, you know, I'm a big fan of what they do.
Yeah, and I think just to reiterate the fact that something we say, and I firmly believe about this industry, is it's still in the foundation stages. So don't think things are set just because Amazon's made a fantastic early play, particularly device-led with the Kindle. But in 10 years' time, you and I have no idea who the average device owner is going to be, and supplier and aggregator and so on.
No.
So that's all up for grabs at the moment, and it's all happening. And there's time with Walmart. Walgreens the chemist, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The pharmacy. Walmart is massive.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's an interesting situation. It's still quite early, so we don't know how it's going to play out. But you know, Kobo is, as I say, it's been a big market for me. I wouldn't be surprised if I've had 6 figures from Kobo over the course of the last couple of years. So that's a very, very decent return. So it's not to be sniffed at. And it was really difficult to have a conversation with Chrissy and say, look, I'm going to try Select and Kindle Unlimited for 3 months to see how that goes, because instinctively my gut is wide is better than exclusive, just because of the reasons I said before. But if you're not exclusive to Amazon, you absolutely must be on Kobo, and it's a really simple interface. The Kobo Writing Life team, led by Chrissy now, they all love books. They're really responsive. If you have problems, they'll be very quickly solved, and their promotions and the strategy that they're rolling out on that scope is becoming more extensive and more powerful. So I am a big fan.
Yeah, and so people should be clear, certainly having listened to Chrissy, that they are a retailer. They're not an aggregator. I think some people think Kobo's a bit like Draft to Digital or something. They're not. They are. It's a shop.
So in the UK, Kobo works with Smiths, WH Smiths. That's their partnership in the UK. In the US, the similar partnership is now Walmart and Kobo. So you can see what their strategy is. They are expanding, and they are backed. I mean, Kobo, by the way, is an anagram of book. I think I've mentioned that to you before. And they are expanding. And Rakuten is a big player with deep.
Yes, huge Japanese investment.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm not saying that they can go toe-to-toe with Amazon, which, is, Bezos is the world's richest man as we record this, but they're not small fry by any means. So it's good to see them duking it out with Amazon and trying to up the game a bit.
Great. Okay. Well, Mark, I'll tell you, when you get to the end of your 3-month experiment, we obviously do need to devote perhaps more than just the beginning chat of a podcast and look at your figures, which you've been very open about in the Facebook group. And then you'll have some thinking to do. I mean, you'll have a bit more data. It's still early days for this experiment for you. You've had a fantastic start to it. Maybe in 3 months it'll look different, but we'll follow along in the Facebook group where you post the stuff, and then we'll have a chat about it perhaps when that comes up. I think that's it. I'm going to celebrate my birthday by going to Cambridge United versus Lincoln City.
It's not your birthday today, is it?
It's my birthday as this is going out the day before, so on the 8th of February.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
So I mentioned that now to give you plenty of notice. I know you're busy at the moment, but...
I send you Christmas cards. I don't get any back.
You do. Well, you're the CEO. You're supposed to send out cards and not expend them back. True. That's how that works. Great. Good, Mark. Good luck with your move. I'm sure it'll go well, and very excited to see your new pad at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there will be, hopefully, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I did discover the other day that the sellers had to be persuaded not to take the wiring out of the house for the... I know. So I have no idea what the house is going to look like. They were told not to take the wiring. Are
these the sort of people who take light fittings and
they could
radiators?
I don't think there's any chance they listen to this podcast, but if they do, I'm not gonna ruin our family friendly image. But let's say they've tested my patience over the last couple of months. But
it's a stressful time. Everyone knows that, but hopefully this bit will go well for you. Okay, Mark, thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. Don't forget that the design course is discounted by $100 for just 7 more days, so until the 16th of February. And if you sign up, you go to selfpublishingformula.com/design. You can read all about it and sign up there. If you do sign up in this opening period, that's anybody from the beginning of it opening to the 16th, you're in line to be pulled out of the hat to get a bespoke cover from the master himself, Stuart Bache. Great, that's it. Have a nice weekend. We'll speak to you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingformula.com for more information, show notes, and links on today's topics. You can also sign up for our free video series on using Facebook ads to grow your mailing list. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.